Alors, bonjour la classe. Hello everyone. Welcome to the second lesson on the imperfect tense. So in our last lesson, you looked a little bit at forming the new form of various present tense verbs using language gym to practice that. And we had a brief look at some grammar rules relating to the formation of the imperfect tense, notably how you need to get the stem and then add the endings. You have those notes in your grammar notes. If not, you'll be able to find the details on Teams from our last lesson. Effectively, you need to take the present tense new form of the verb, take off the ONS, and then add the relevant ending. What we're going to do today is practice a lot of that. We'll start by looking at what I've coined sort of some nice verbs in that they are regular in the present tense. We'll look at what I've termed nasty verbs. Ultimately, they are just verbs that are irregular in the present tense. So we have to think about them because that irregularity will continue through to the imperfect tense. And then there's a mix of all three. In the lesson plan, there are 3 PDF files mentioned: the nice, the nasty, and the nice and nasty. I want to talk you through how these activities are going to work. So you'll find these files either in class materials. They should also be linked under the instructions post on Teams. So the first activity, you've got some nice verbs. And these are nice because they follow a pattern in that they're regular. So their ER verbs will all follow a pattern. The IR verbs will all follow a pattern. They'll all relate back to a very straightforward very straightforward new form present tense. So jouer, for example, you were to remember, is nous jouons in the present tense. You take off the ONS and you end up with the stem je. Okay. And then the next part of the activity is I want the je form of this in the imperfect tense. So I take my stem je, I add my je endings, which are AIS, and I end up with this je, jouer. Now, what would I like you to do? Well, I've written these 2 columns for a reason. I don't want us to go straight to this activity without first processing what the stem is. You might find it a little bit repetitive, but that's the point. I want to get you thinking about highlighting the stem and then adding the ending. So it's very straightforward for these nice verbs because, as I've said before, the present tense verbs are pretty straightforward. Now, what do? 2 options. You can either print off the PDF sheet and write directly onto the sheet and then stick those into your exercise books, or in the front of your exercise book, copy the title, imperfect tense formation, nice verbs, and then write numbers 1 to 10 down the side, and then fill in the 2 columns, A, the stem, and then B, the stem and the ending according to the article or subject that's been given to you. So then you should be able to have a completed version of this. The next one is the same, but instead of being quite nice, they are verbs that are all a little bit tricky in the present tense, i.e. they're all irregular. So what I advise you to do, as I've advised in the lesson plan, is if you don't know these off by heart, some of them you might, but others are a little bit trickier. Feel free to check your grammar notes, but also feel free to look up wordreference.com. And when you type the verb into wordreference.com, one of the options will be for a conjugation. And if you click on conjugation, you'll see the verb conjugated in all sorts of different tenses. Now, don't just go straight to the imperfect tense. I want you to go through the process of finding the present tense, finding its new form, taking off the ONS, finding that stem, and then adding the endings. So same as the previous exercise, complete this form. And for prendre, well, it's irregular. Je prends, tu prends, il prend, nous prenons. So nous prenons minus the ONS is prennent, like that, prennent. So you'd have, that's our stem. And then the ending is a je form, AIS. So therefore it would be je prenais. I used to take. Okay. So that's an explanation for the second activity. The third activity is a mix of both of them, and I just want you to write the imperfect tense straight away. So you'll still have to go through the same process, look at the verb. What is its stem going to be? Do you think it's regular? Do you think it's irregular? So for example, faire is slightly irregular. It would be nous faisons, goes to its stem being FAIS, and then I add the je ending, je faisais. And you'll need to do that for the remaining verbs. Again, feel free to use sites such as Word Reference, which are going to help you to give you that detail of the verbs in the present tense and their new form. Okay, do what you can. Try your best at this. Some of the verbs might be a little trickier. As I say, you've got access to the internet. You should be able to find all of these verbs in their new forms. Okay, once you've completed those three activities, then there's a little bit more of an interactive activity or series of activities for you to do. Go to languagesonline.org.uk. It's a website that you've no doubt all used before. Find the grammar section in French, and there will be an activity called the imperfect tense. Click on that, and there are a series of different exercises to do. Work through them for 10 or so minutes. Okay, and this should be enough to take you to the end of the lesson. At any point in the lesson, get in touch. I'll be there. If this is for my twilight class, if you're completing this at a completely different time and you're getting stuck with anything, then just fire me a message on the chat and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Okay. Très bien.